Hello friends, this is the Urdu Free Thinker. In this video, we will discuss a popular biblical story that is reiterated in the Quran, the story of Joseph and his brothers. This story is presented as a historical fact by both the Bible and the Quran, claiming that all personalities in this tale are real and historical. The story of Joseph is set before David and Solomon, before Moses, but after Abraham. So, the setting of Joseph's tale is estimated by many scholars to be around 18th to 16th century BC. First, let us quickly summarize the story of Joseph. Joseph is a son of Jacob, who is the grandson of Abraham. Joseph lived in Canaan, modern-day Israel-Palestine, with his father, mother, and 11 brothers. One day Joseph had a dream that the sun, his father, the moon, his mother, and 11 stars, signifying his brothers, bowed down to Joseph. Joseph's brothers were very upset by the supremacist nature of this dream and decided to murder him, but at the end they decided to throw him in the well instead. A caravan came along and saw Joseph. The traders wanted to purchase Joseph as a slave. His brothers then subsequently sold him for a few dirhams. The caravan then took Joseph to Egypt and sold him to a nobleman. He then quickly rose from slavery and eventually became the vizier, or the second most powerful man in Egypt. A few years went by, and there was a drought in Canaan that caused Joseph's brothers to visit Egypt for food. After a bit of drama, which I won't really discuss, Joseph tells his brothers his true identity and eventually helps the family with supply of food. And at the end, he requests his family to come settle in Egypt. Now let's come to the first problem in this narrative. The Quran states that Joseph's brothers sold him for a few dirhams. وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ دَرَاهِمَ مَعْدُودَةٍ. They sold him for a miserable price, for a few dirhams counted out. Here the word dirham is clearly mentioned. It is interesting that the word dirham is not Arabic in origin. According to Lane's lexicon, one of the most respected Arabic to English dictionary, it is derived from Persian, which in turn is derived from the Greek drachma. Drachma was a currency that was in use much later than when Joseph's story is said to have taken place. Although a more archaic form of drachma was in usage as early as 10th century BC in the form of rod-shaped metals called oboloi, its coinage form was introduced much later, in the 6th or 5th century BC. Furthermore, it is widely accepted that the first people to use coins as currency were the Lydians, who lived in Asia Minor or modern-day Turkey around 7th to 6th century BC. Before that, coins didn't even exist. This is the earliest inscribed coin from Ephesus, dated around 625 BC. And this is a coin of Eliates of Lydia, dated about 620 BC. Both these coins predate the Greek drachma. So the Quran states that Joseph's brothers sold him to slavery for a few dirhams, a currency that wouldn't exist until 800 to 1,000 years after he's supposed to have lived. Now let's look at the second problem with the story. The Quran states that in Joseph's time, camels were used as beasts of burden. In this verse, the word kayla ba'ir is used, which means a camel's load. Here the word himlu ba'ir is used, which again means a camel's load. So it seems that the Quran implies that the camels were used as beasts of burdens in the time of Joseph, so around 18th to 16th century BC. Although the Bactrian camels are believed to have been domesticated by the 2nd millennium BC in Central Asia, the usage of camels in Arabia and the Middle East, and the evidence of domestication of the Arabian camel, or dromedary, is absent from zoo archaeological data including radiocarbon analysis of camel bones. The most famous of these studies was led by Israeli archaeologists Lidar Sapirhen and Erez Ben Yosef in Tel Aviv. These modern archaeological studies suggest that although wild camels were hunted in parts of the Middle East, such as South Arabia and the Persian Gulf, the domestication of camels as beasts of burden occurred much later, around 10th to 9th century BC. A paper by Peter McGee presents an extensive overview of analysis of artifactual, textual, epigraphical, and archaeological evidence of the entire Arabian Peninsula and the Levant, and concludes the following. On an issue as complex as the domestication of the dromedary, it is imperative that all classes of evidence are considered. We have attempted such in this paper. The conclusion must be that there is general consensus between artifactual and archaeozoological data that domesticated dromedary are widely known only after 1000 BC in the ancient Near East. The evidence for such a conclusion is widespread, from Syria to Yemen, from the UAE to Mesopotamia, and incorporates age profiles of dromedary bones from Muwella to orthostat reliefs from Tel Halaf in Syria. The evidence is consistent and convincing. This website belongs to Al Ain National Museum from the United Arab Emirates, which also states the same thing, that in the Middle East, camels were domesticated after the 10th century BC, according to modern evidence. Archaeology is an ever-developing area of study, but so far, based on zooarchaeological studies, including radiocarbon dating of bones, the evidence shows that the usage of camels as domesticated beasts of burden only started after 1000 BC in the Middle East. The camel caravans and everything else we associate with the deserts of the Middle East occurred after this date, long after Joseph supposedly existed. This again calls into question the entire narrative and supports the idea that the story of Joseph was written much later by ancient Israelites, probably writing down older myths with a more modern touch of the time, or trying to formulate an origin story for their people. The Quran simply adopts this story and says that this is directly from the all-knowing, all-powerful Creator. Again, you can choose to believe in the Quran. That is entirely your choice, and I respect that. But know that the author of the Quran didn't know when coins started circulating in the human history, nor did he comprehend the timeline of the domestication of camels in the Middle East.